What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are continuing the K24 build exactly where we left off last time, and that's going to be by adding brand new timing guide components here into the K24. We have all OEM goodies and everything, which are going to be racking up the price today. Now, I will give you guys a bit of a heads up as well. Some of this stuff is going to look a little bit different as you see the steps and the pieces, mainly because I had started filming some of this previously before I changed my mind and decided I wanted to go ahead and actually open the head, clean the inside and everything, do the head gasket. So some of this stuff is going to look a little dirty how it was before versus how it is now, but the steps are the same. So just ignore the state of how the engine looks. The steps are the same, so it's going to work for you anyway. So we're adding everything here in the front. We're going to be adding the pump and everything else. And then another thing I wanted to talk about too is the totals. I was adding totals to my videos and everything, but it is storming here, guys, so hopefully you guys don't hear that. But as I'm continuing to kind of build and do stuff here, I have bought some stuff previously that I ended up not using or ended up having to replace for another piece. So it's made some of those numbers a little dirty, I guess I would say by now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm still keeping track of everything, and then we're just gonna leave all of that for like the end once we do a whole video on what the build costs. And then that way I can tell you, hey, if you're gonna do this, you might wanna consider this option or this option, and what the relative price is going to be on those. So keep that in mind. So you're not going to see the totals at the top anymore, and that's going to be why. So anyways, we have a pretty much big video I think today as well, so let's get right into it. So here are more or less all the parts we're going to be installing today. Now this looks a little janky right now just because I had already taken it off. So I'm going to cut here into a clip where I show you all the part numbers and everything so you can see that. So we're going to go from left to right here. We have the Type S oil pump. You have the part number there. Again, everything's going to be down in the description, so you check down there. We have the tensioner for the chain. We have the chain guide. We have a couple bolts that we need since we are swapping this out, and we're not going to utilize the old ones. We have the brand new chain. We have some Honda bond. We won't be needing this necessarily with this swap right now, but we will need it with the timing guide, so definitely have some in hand. And then we have the new Windage tray or oil tray, whatever you want to call it, right here. So let me go ahead and get the oil pump out of here. We do have to modify this since I didn't buy the one that's already pre-cut, and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. All right, so here is our brand new pump. Look at how much smaller that is. So much lighter than this thing. I mean, look at that. That is like double the size and definitely about 2 or 3 times the weight of it. But the thing is, once we get it here, we have to do a little bit of cuts. So I don't know if I'm gonna be able to show you there properly. You can kind of see there's a bit of a bump there, and there's not a spot for that bump in the pump. So we have to basically get this and then do a little bit of cutting in here all the way straight across and then down here. So I'm gonna have to do that. But going this route saved me, I think, about $100 or so on getting the pump by itself like this versus getting one that's already pre-cut with all the other parts and stuff like that. It was like $150 difference. So I'm okay just doing a couple cuts. If you want to make it easier for you, they do have that option out there. If you want to get the one that's pre-cut, it'll be up to you. But let me go ahead and cut that out, and then so we can put it on. Real quickly, I want to show you guys how I kind of did this. Definitely a little sketchy. I don't have a vice grip, like a workbench vice grip or something. So I ended up just cutting a bunch of little lines, and then from those, you can just come in with some pliers and literally just twist them off. Let's see. Of course, that one's not going to twist off right now because I'm trying to show you guys. There you go. See, like it'll literally just come off. So you can go around all of them and then just break them off and then just clean that edge once you're done. So I'm gonna do that through all of them. Definitely do it in an open space. Don't do it in an enclosed space like I did. Probably not my brightest idea because there's some bunch of aluminum particles and shit in here. So yeah, but this is the way to do it. I'm gonna Dremel the rest of it with my small one, and then I think we have to cut a little bit into this, so hopefully I can get it with Dremel. Let's do it. And here you have it after a lot of little cuts to try to get that just enough to clear. I don't want to overcut it or anything like that, but you do have to cut a little bit into this one, like I said. But look at that. I mean, that's pretty good. Everything is flat as far as the surfaces where the bolts are gonna go, and nothing in there is actually touching. It's just enough clearance to pretty much be in place. So. Now before we put the pump in place and torque it down and everything, we do have to find a 12mm bolt here, kind of on the short side as well, because we need to, ooh, that almost fell in there. We need to actually put some Honda bond on this and put it right on the spot where we took that little plug off. If you don't do that and tighten this down, you're gonna get a low oil pressure. So you have to make sure you put that in there. The tray here is not gonna block it. It's gonna have an actual spot for it, so you're good there. So yeah, we're gonna just go ahead and do that in a second, and then come in, put the tray, and then put the pump in here. So let's do it. All right, guys, everything is put back together, and don't be like me and forget to put the chain as you put it in there, because you cannot torque this down and put it in and then put the chain on it. At least I couldn't do it. I don't know. If you guys figure it out, then go for it. But otherwise, don't forget to put the chain on there. This is in here good. I'm gonna just go ahead and torque all the bolts around here, and then we can start moving on into the guides on the front. So let's get to it. So it's been a minute since I worked on this, and I'm gonna tell you the torque specs on this before I forget and completely move on. Everything here, all these bolts on the tray are gonna be 8.7 foot-pounds. I have a torque range that goes only down to 10, and I have a smaller one that is inch-pounds. So I'm actually gonna be using the inch-pounds measurement, and for this one, it's basically 104 inch-pounds. Inch-pounds, make sure you get that right. If you're using the inch pounds, it's 104. If you're using the foot pounds, it's gonna be 8.7. And same thing with this bolt here. This one is gonna be 8.7 foot pounds or 104 inch pounds. So make sure you don't get that twisted, otherwise you're gonna shear that off and break it, and it's gonna be a pain. Now these two bolts here, these are gonna be 16 foot pounds, and it's about 192 inch pounds. So whichever one you're gonna use, just make sure you have the right torque spec, and you are pretty much good to put this in here. So, all right, guys, so let's talk about the windage tray here. Now, in my original part list, I initially got the Honda OEM windage tray that goes with the Type S oil pump, but because you will need a baffle when you're going in a real-world drive setup, whether it's a baffle in the oil pan, like it's integrated with the oil pan, or the one I'm gonna do today, you will have to have some sort of baffle in there. So the one that I'm going with today is gonna be the 4-piston baffle. It keeps my K24 oil pan stock. Basically, I don't have to swap out to anything else, and that replaces also the windage tray that would go typically with the Type S oil pump. So I'll leave you the part number for that one in case you are going this way and you're using something like a built-in oil pan baffle, but I will start getting the 4-piston one installed, which utilizes those points. So here at the table is all the pieces that come with the 4-piston baffle kit. You have basically this piece, which replaces the one I was talking about just a second ago. This is gonna go in replacement of the OEM windage tray, and then we have these two pieces that surround basically the oil pump pickup, as well as some couple bolts and Loctite and whatnot. So they have some nice instructions included with it. So let's go ahead and move over there and start installing this. All right, guys, so we have cleaned the surface of both the windage tray and the engine itself with some brake cleaner. It should be all nice and clean now. We are gonna use the included hardware with the kit here. So that needs to be also torqued down to 108 inch pounds. Make sure you're not confusing it with foot pounds, 108 inch pounds. And like I said, it's gonna have all brand new hardware here, and it does have some Loctite as well. Now, it is supposed to be a bit of a tight fit with the factory oil pan, so you might wanna double check that a few times. You might have to take this off if there is interference, just so you can grind off wherever that interference is happening, so that way you're not, you know, having the oil pan fit incorrectly in here. So let me go ahead and get these bolts out, put a little bit of this Loctite in them, and then get them threaded in here. Okay, so now that we have the windage tray in there, kind of by hand, I was looking at this, and you might want to go ahead and get this bolted on first before you actually torque the bolt. And I would say don't do that, because two bolts are going to be basically encapsulated by this, and it's going to be hard to torque them. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to go ahead and get our torque wrench and get these bolts right where they need to be before we move on to the next step. So let's go ahead and get this. We're going to put this to 108 inch-pounds. I already have it set up here. And then we're going to make sure we just go ahead and torque them down. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is good to go. So now with that out of the way, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and add the two other sides. Now there's only one with a cutout, and that's gonna be over here closer to the oil pump. So we're gonna go ahead and put this one right here. And I'll go ahead and grab my extension here for the 10 millimeter. And same thing, we're gonna go ahead and add a little bit of that thread locker. Make sure it's the blue one. And put the bolts in place. So let me do that real quick. And same deal, just like the rest of the bolts, we are going to go ahead and torque them all to 108 inch-pounds, which is not a lot of Fords. I think it's somewhere around 8.7 or 9 foot-pounds basically. So as long as we got all of them torqued down, shouldn't be a problem with the Loctite and everything. So and that's pretty much it. If you didn't go this route, you would just install the windage straight right here in the bottom, and you basically be done and ready to move on to the next step. So let's do it. All right, so after installing the oil baffle here, we're just doing a quick test fit, make sure there's nothing hitting the actual oil pan, and I don't think there is. Everything looks good here on the sides, everything looks good here on the back as well. My oil pan is a little bow-legged to begin with, but nothing is actually hitting the baffle in there. I have seen though online that some of the people are using one that has like a small indentation here. I'm guessing for the oil pump. I don't know if I need that or not. Let me know down in the comments if you guys know. They do sell that as basically a factory K24 oil pan, just mine doesn't have it. So don't know if I need it. I'm gonna have to email KPower and see what they say. But yeah, nothing interferes here. So we're gonna go ahead and take this out and continue installing everything else. All right, everyone, so we have removed the old gear here, and then this is gonna be our new one. Here is the part number. This is the RBC gear. This is gonna allow us to get 50 degrees of adjustment in there, but we actually cannot utilize all 50. We have to add a limiter to it. This is the Trac Tuff VTC limiter, and you might be wondering, why are we switching a part to add more degrees and then limiting that part? And the reason is, as far as my research goes and what I've seen from other guys doing the K-swap, if you leave it all the way to 50, it can damage the inside of the engine if you adjust it all the way there. So keeping this and limiting this gear down to 40 allows us to get that extra adjustment and get that extra power if we need it without damaging anything inside the engine. And like I said, we want to keep it in that safe space. So this is going to be an improvement for down the road potentially, while also maintaining the engine free from damage. So let's go ahead and pop this in here. I know it's a lot easier to kind of put the gear in here so we can open the inside of it. We have to open it before we add the limiter. So let's do that. So don't be like me and have an absolute mess on your workbench that you have to do this kind of on the ground. But we are going to remove this. We already loosened this up, so we're gonna take all the bolts out of here, and it should be pretty simple. It's just a matter of opening this. There's a spring in here. We just have to watch out, make sure it doesn't go flying somewhere. I can see it pushing already. So let me hold this down, take this other one off too, and it's pushing there. You can see that getting lifted. There you go. So put this here to the side, put that one there. Gonna look over instructions again. Let's see. It goes So there is lock and it goes here, right? Am I seeing that right? Here is spring. I think it just goes there. If we push this, oh, okay. Did not meant to do that. Hey guys, so a quick voiceover here just because I want to explain some things here. When I took that out, right, the bottom of it, the spring basically ended up coming out. And when you see me put it here back in the table, the gear is now locked. Now you don't want to put the gear locked into the engine. You want to make sure it is unlocked before you torque it down, right? So the initial position of this is the right way, where it's kind of barely open, and then you slide the pin here on the side. You don't want to have it locked in this position when you put everything back. So you'll see me put this back together and everything, but I actually ended up having to open this back up, make sure it was unlocked, and then torque it back down before I could put it into the K24. So just keep that in mind. It's going to continue here with it in the lock position, but you have to just make sure it is unlocked. Cannot stress that enough. So we're just going to continue here with the instructions. That's where it goes. All right, so we're going to put this back in place. Line it up there. Put this one's here. This one's here. I hope it doesn't move crazy in there. I'm just driving them down by hand right now. Well, I'm also a dummy. I should have put some of this Loctite in there, otherwise they might back out, right? Now, at least they did provide us with an inch-pound torque spec, which is 84 inch-pounds. So making sure everything looks good there. We're gonna take this, we're gonna add some to each bolt here a little bit. Oh, this is a bit of a bad design, not gonna lie. That's my place. Another one. Okay. This one too. That should be it. Obviously just torque it, so let me get my tool. I think I'm gonna have to torque this once it's on the engine because it's kind of hard to grab. Del monte será, se le oye la voz, como el pavo real, se le oye la voz. All right, guys, so the RBC gear is in place now and everything is torqued to spec here. We have our bolts torqued to 84 inch-pounds or about 7 foot-pounds, so make sure you get that right. I know I mentioned it before. And then we have the actual gear here. The bolt is going to be 83 foot-pounds. But heads up on this, if your gear looks like this, you're paying attention to this little top area here. If your gear looks like that, before you torque it down, it is wrong. That means your gear is locked. You need to not have it look like this. It needs to be kind of the bottom half of this on this area. That's the unlock position. That's when you torque it down and then you lock it. I didn't get a chance to show you here because it actually locked pretty quickly after I torqued it down and everything. I just kind of touched this and it just locked itself. So again, if you have it like this, it is locked. Do not torque it down at that part. Open it back up, unlock it, and then torque it down. So we are looking good. I had to put this in here to get some leverage because, man, 83 foot-pounds by yourself is kind of hard. I put my wrench here resting and then that helped out a lot. So we are good here. I'm gonna take this off and then I'll move on with the chain here. Okay, with the gear in place and the oil pump in place, it's time to put the chain. You can kind of see I already have it at the packaging here. This is the part number in case you need it. And there are 2 gold links, which you'll see right here on the top. There's the 2 gold links. There's another 2 gold ones over here. This needs to be obviously in there and lined up with it. So we gotta make sure we adjust this as needed. And then down here, let's see if you can see it. There's 1 more gold link here, that one right there. And that needs to go on that little dot. So you gotta make sure this is positioned properly. So you can go on it, right in between it, in between the gold link. And then we can start putting the rest of the guides and the tensioner in place. So all right guys, so we got everything mocked up here to start getting ready and putting all this timing parts on here. We have our 2 chain guides here for the sides. We have our tensioner here for the pump, our guide here, and then our little extra piece. All of that is OEM. You guys already got the part numbers for this one, so I'm gonna run you through the part numbers here for the timing part of it. Since you already saw the chain and everything installed here, I'm just gonna run you real quick. This is the chain part number. This is gonna be also your timing guide here for the left side, the one for the right side down here. And I'll write all of this in the description so you guys can check out the description. This is your top guide over here as well, and then your OEM tensioner on this side. So this is all you need to replace kind of the timing on this engine. And what's really nice about the K24 engine, at least, is that everything is really easy to visually see that it's all properly set up. And by that is, you make sure the 2 dots are in between the links that are different on your chain here on the top. You also just make sure here things are lined up right. We have the 2 little lines there marked up. Then down here on the pump, there is an arrow on this top area here. It might be hard to see on the camera, but there is an arrow there. Just make sure it's lined up. And then down here on this link, again, hard to see because the link is already in there and I already have this piece, but there should be a little dot that lines up with that link. That's how you know it's in the proper spot, and we are good to go. All right guys, so we have now everything nice and put together, nice and torqued down. And let me run you through the torque specs so you have them here. We're gonna start here with the pump here. Everything, the Allen wrench and the 10mm bolts are gonna be 8.7 foot-pounds, or whatever the equivalent of that is in inch-pounds. We have all of the ones here on the side as well. Those are gonna be 8.7 foot-pounds. We have the tensioner, 8.7 foot-pounds as well. But you might wanna leave this one at the end. And then this bolt right here is 16 foot-pounds, and the 2 on top for the guide are 16 foot-pounds. All right, so we are here back in the future. Hopefully you're not too thrown off with the engine looking dirty and then suddenly clean. Like I said, all of that I have filmed it before, but we did all the exact same steps now with the engine clean. So the only thing we're gonna talk about right now is something that I hadn't mentioned before, and that is this KPower timing belt baffle. Hopefully you can kind of see the logo there in the middle right here. This is going to prevent the oil from going kind of up the timing cover here in basically a hard braking situation. Now, you might be thinking this might be a little bit of overkill, especially because I'm not planning to kind of track this car, right, the truck or anything like that. But I'm just doing this more on the side of caution. I'm already in here. And then, like I said, since this K24 is more to be in a front wheel drive setup, right, your oil usually will be going this way when you're braking and accelerating, but now it's going to be going this way, which is not really planned for that, right? So you have more chances of starving. If you like suddenly brake hard and all the oil goes up here, it also has a chance of going up the timing cover. Or if you accelerate super hard, then the oil is gonna go back, and again, more chance of a starvation. So this is just gonna prevent us from having that happen. We are gonna go ahead and add it. We're gonna utilize this bolt, this 2 bolts here on the oil pump / tensioner, and then 1 down here on the oil pump. And what's nice about it too is that if you didn't switch oil pumps and you had the big factory oil pump from the K24, you can also use this as well. The kit comes with some spacers so that you can use it on the Type S. And then if you were using it on the regular one, then you wouldn't use the spacer. So let's go ahead and get it installed here and let's see how it looks. All right, and here it is pretty much installed. I haven't torqued the bolts down just yet, but just to show you guys. You're gonna use the big spacer if you have the Type S. If you have the other one, then you'll use the small spacer there, and then you should be good. And then again, the 2 other bolts in here. And you should be able to just bolt those and torque them down to 8.7 foot-pounds, which is like 104 inch-pounds, just like the rest of the other bolts. And you should be good to go. But yeah, that's how it looks. This is not gonna interfere with the oil pan, so you don't have to worry about that. And then it also shouldn't interfere with the timing cover either, since it's just kind of sitting there. And again, it'll prevent just oil going up the timing chain on a basically hard braking situation. So we are good here, and we are ready to start putting our bob cover or timing cover. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, guys, and with that KPower piece in place, that is the last piece I have for me to upgrade as far as the inside of the K24. We are now basically ready to start putting our timing cover, our valve cover, our oil pan, and everything in place. But I do have a few things that I'm going to be doing with those, which I think this is going to be a good stopping point for this video. I'm sure we ran long already like we always do. So if you stuck around, I really appreciate you watching. I appreciate your support. Please leave a like, leave a comment down below. Subscribe to the channel if you want to keep up with the updates. And yeah, we're going to have more stuff coming up here pretty soon, hopefully. We do have the engine out of the truck, right? So we are ready to start mocking the K24 in place. And we have a few other pieces that I want to show you guys about that so you guys can kind of get an idea. So again, that's really all I have for you today, guys. So if you want to support the channel in any other way, consider checking out flakegarage.com. We got stickers and a bunch of other things in there, so check it out. We also got links to parts and everything. Like always, all the parts, part numbers, and everything that I'm using today as well are going to be down in the description, so don't forget to check that out. If you have any questions as far as parts and stuff like that, check it out down there. And then hopefully we'll see you guys on the next video. Bye.